Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? It's a pleasure to be here this morning to have a conversation with you regarding your Hudson Rotary Foundation. We are the 501c3 arm of our group, and I just wanted to take a few moments today to discuss what goes on with the foundation, some of the things that we're working on, just give you a little bit more information and insight. So again, you're gonna have to imagine a beautiful PowerPoint presentation. It is available, so if anybody wants to receive a copy of that, I'll be more than happy to email it out to you, okay? So bear with me. The goals and vision of the Hudson Rotary Foundation is to provide opportunities for young people to work for the relief of the special needs of others and to improve the quality of life in the community of Hudson. It's to support and contribute to the success and activities of projects of Rotarians, to fund scholarships for deserving high school students, to ensure that charitable beneficiaries selected and approved by the Rotary Club of Hudson are deemed eligible beneficiaries under the foundation's charter, bylaws, and IRS regulations, to educate and inform Hudson Rotarians about the activities of the Hudson Rotary Foundation on an ongoing basis, and to adhere to the highest standards of integrity and accountability in the management of our chapter's funds. Our foundation structure, we have the same fiscal year as the club, so it runs from July 1st to June 30th. It is managed by members from the club, a board of trustees, which ranges from 7 to 11 members. They are divided into 3 classes of 3-year terms, and trustees can serve for 2 consecutive 3-year terms. The current structure of our board: I am the foundation president. Patrick Shear is our foundation's vice president. Doug McDowell is our foundation's treasurer. Chuck Nebufi is the foundation's secretary. Catherine Sines is one of our trustees, as well as Kelly Brennan, Philip Buto, George Snyder, Virginia or Jenny Frazier, David Basil, and then Father Joe Boisel serves as on the trustee board as the immediate past president of the club. So Carrie, guess what you get to do next year? We have 6 different committees that we manage throughout the years. These are the investment committee, the scholarship committee, the budget committee, the nominating committee, the audit committee, and the grants committee. You know, we have different assignments. So the nominating committee is Patrick, George, and then it's also supposed to be the club president-elect serves on the nominating committee, and that committee basically looks at who's falling off of our board and tries to find members who will be willing to join the board for a 3-year term. The investment committee is George, Patrick, Kelly, and Doug. And again, they are charged with the responsibility of taking a look at our funds and making sure that our funds are invested wisely, prudently, and safely. The grants committee is Phil, Catherine, Chuck, Jenny, and then I'm technically the tiebreaker. And again, they take a look at the grants that are being brought into the club. We review those, we discuss their merits, and then we make decisions based off of the advice from the club board as to whether we should grant the request, not grant the request, or make an amendment to the request. The budget committee is myself, Patrick, Doug, and Phil. And again, we just take a look at the budget, the finances, and kind of set forth the operating budget for the year. Audit committee was myself, Kelly, and David. And again, we just take a look at the bylaws and just kind of make sure that everything is running the way it should. And, you know, sometimes see, you know, do we need to make adjustments? You know, just make sure again that we're running the club soundly and smoothly. And then we have our scholarship committee, which is Catherine, Ron, and Jenny. And again, they're charged with a very important task of looking at all the fine students that are providing us applications for scholarships, and really, you know, taking the time to interview these students. And, you know, I have never been a part of it, but it's got to be a real difficult decision, you know, because of all the fine quality students that are coming in, you know, to decide who's going to get the scholarships from the club. this coming year. So those are our different committees. The foundation's finances. So we have different funds. We have our operating fund, which is basically a liquid fund that is used for the management of our day-to-day business, as well as where grants and so forth come out of. And then we have an endowment fund, which is basically there in perpetuity to ensure that our club has finances in order to make grants and operate for the ongoing future. And there's been situations in the past, where maybe we've had grants not come in, or basically less funds coming into the club. So we just wanted to make sure that we have something that keeps the club stable. So our operating fund right now has $78,078.32. And again, this covers for budgeted annual operating expenses of the foundation, primarily grants and deserving institutions, college scholarships, audit fees, and miscellaneous expenses. Now, 50,000 of that is actually going to be transferred back into the endowment fund because we did have to draw from that last year to cover expenses for the renovation of the Boy Scout cabin. So we received funds from the state that were used to manage those restorations, and those funds are going to go back into the endowment fund. Our endowment fund today has $190,872.77. Again, this is a long-term asset that's used to supplement amounts awarded as grants and scholarships. And again, it exists in perpetuity or until the liquidation of the Hudson Rotary Foundation. Our budget for this year. So we projected inflows of $3,000 from the Beer Fest, the fall fundraiser, $3,000, and the gala of about $37,000. So the total inflows that we were looking at for this year are $43,000. Our outflows, professional costs, $4,000, grants and the gala, $25,000, grants to others, about $10,000. We have budgeted miscellaneous expenses of $2,000 for a total of about $41,000. Our grant process. So our grant committee votes to approve, modify, or deny all grant requests that come into the club. So the grant committee then presents the request to the Rotary Club Board of Directors for their recommendations. From there, it comes back to the grant committee, and they finally present to our board, basically if we should approve or not approve. So then it comes to the board for a final vote. Charitable giving. So last year we gave out $37,964 as a club. 19,000 of that went to scholarships for graduating students, and about 18.9 was in various grants to the community. Past grant recipients are the Gift of Life, Hudson Job Search, Hudson High School Service Learning, Boy Scout Troop 321, Hudson EMS, Boy Scouts of America, Camp Manitowoc, as well as HCTV, Music from the Western Reserve, Special Olympics of Ohio, Hattie Larum, Uncharted Waters, and scholarships, again, to the graduating seniors. One initiative that we are looking to do this year as part of the foundation is to partner with the Hudson Community Foundation, basically to have them help us manage the grant process as well as our investments. Benefits for working with the Hudson Community Foundation as well, it will enable our board the ability to focus on the Rotary's mission, while the Hudson Community Foundation will focus on the administration and investment of our endowment fund. Donors will receive the maximum tax deductions, and the Hudson Community Foundation will provide donor confidence as a trusted steward of charitable gifts based on more than 22 years of experience and accreditation, meeting operational quality, integrity, and accountability. Funds are invested in our own account. There is no pooling of investments, and we have flexibility of our board to oversee the finances of the funds. We're able to view the balance, contributions, and grants through a 24/7 portal that we will have access to. The Hudson Board Foundation, or or the Hudson Foundation Board will still maintain control over the funds and gifting. You know, our account will not be commingled with other accounts. So we will have our own specific account that we will manage, and that, you know, they have their own investment advisors that will provide direction, but we ultimately will be able to decide, you know, how the funds are going to be allocated. Our officers and investment committee can review performance online anytime and make changes as necessary. So we will still remain autonomy. We will still be the ones making decisions regarding grant giving. We're not giving that power or that responsibility over to somebody else. It's just more or less, for the lack of better words, almost like hiring a staff, professional people who do this on a regular basis that can make things more streamlined, make it much more easy and more efficient for the club in order to make sure that we're receiving grants and we're getting the grants out on time, as well as the proper documentation and IRS filings for them. And our foundation goals for 2024. The completion of bylaws reviews and ratification. We have been working on this for about over a year, about a year and a half. And it was really designed to take a look at the bylaws and make sure that they were up to date, that they were actually ratified, and that they were put into place, which we have finally done that. We're very proud that we're able to do that, built off the great work of previous foundation boards. So we were able to kind of put that together, make sure that was completed. So we're very proud of that. The completion of the partnership with the Hudson Community Foundation, which is in process. I'm in the process of finalizing the applications with Amy Jordan over there. So we should have that done here fairly quickly. The digitization of foundation records for ease of accessibility. You know, it's about time we come into the 21st century when it comes to our documentation, so that we have it available to anybody here in the club that needs to pull those type of records. Right now, they're still in a very manual paper format. So we really need to make sure that we have these records set up digitally so that, again, future boards, future clubs down the road, if they need to access meeting minutes, documentation, things of that nature, it'll be much easier for those individuals to be able to do that. And then continue to work with the club board to help drive growth in membership and community recognition. You know, that's something that we've talked about, me and Terry. You know, we just really want to see our club grow and thrive, and we really want the community to know who we are and what we do. And, you know, that's been part of the issue, I think, since COVID with grants. We've seen a deep decline in grant requests since COVID happened. And, you know, the world did change and people's perceptions are changing, and you know, we just have to make sure that we're getting the message out there. We have a lot that we can offer our community. We can do a lot of good work, and we're a great organization to be proud of and to be a part of. So we just want to make sure that the community knows that, and that we're able to grow this membership and be able to bring more finances in, as well as be able to help more, you know, deserving people out there in the Hudson community. So our upcoming meeting dates, we have a meeting scheduled for November 15th. We have a meeting scheduled for January 17th, March 20th, and then our annual meeting will be June 19th. Obviously, we can have additional meetings as necessary, but those are the ones that we have on the books at this point in time. And then finally, I just want to let you all know that I am available at any time if you ever want to discuss any matters regarding the foundation. My information is in Club Runner, but my cell phone is here, 330-322-5359. You can contact me at my work phone number. I work over at Northwest Bank here in town, or you can contact me on either my personal email or my work email. So that's the presentation. I don't think I did it justice because I'm not much of a public speaker, so I apologize for that. Again, this presentation is available to you, and I would gladly send it out to any member that would like to have a copy of it to review. And if you would like to personally discuss it with me, I am always available to have that discussion with you. So we'll get this part out of the way and just open it up for any questions or discussions or anything that I can do to help make you more aware of what we do with the foundation. I'll come out behind this thing too. I feel too got stiff behind that thing. I do. I hate public speaking. I apologize. It's not my forte. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You're very generous. But seriously, what questions do you have that maybe I can answer for you? Oh, Father Joe. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Talking about giving to Rotary.
Mhm.
Go to the foundation.
Well, that's going to be one of the things that the Hudson Community Foundation is that we're going to be able to have a central nexus point where all of these requests will go through. I mean, currently we get them in a variety of different ways. Somebody will mail something, somebody will bring it to one of us. Unfortunately, they've been going, the email that we had on file was one of our members' email that was not part of the foundation. So that poor individual has been getting a lot of emails sent to them. But, you know, basically, there is a grant request that has to be filled out, a formal grant request form. So if somebody has, you know, what are you talking about? Oh, money coming in. It goes to, well, again, we go through the grant process. And when it is approved, it goes to wherever it is specified on the grant application. Yeah, maybe I'm just not understanding the question. Oh, it goes into the, well, yeah, it goes to Doug's the treasurer. So those funds come in. But I mean, those normally I haven't seen a whole lot of people just giving us money. Normally they're coming through different initiatives. Yeah. Right. Right. But I mean, generally they come in through like the different initiatives that we're doing. So whether it's the fall fundraiser, through the beer fest, things like that, all those funds are brought in and then they go to Doug and those get placed into the operating fund. And then from there, again, with a lot of the different activities like the beer fest, and so there's costs. So we have to pay out the costs, you know, for like the bratwurst and things of that nature, the sauerkraut. But if it's just somebody wants to donate, it would go into the operating fund at this particular point in time. We'd also have to take a look and see if there's any sort of stipulations that are with those funds that are coming in. If they want those funds to go to a specific cause, like that somebody might be making a large donation, but they want that to go to the scholarships. So we need to make sure that that's designated and earmarked for the scholarships. But generally that's run through our treasurer and goes into the operating fund. I'm sorry, I'm so used to giving money out. I'm not used to getting money in. I'm a parent with 2 daughters. So my whole life has been money just going out, 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 out. I can hear you. I don't know about them, but I can hear you.
There.
Now we can hear you.
Like push the red button. This has to do with the amount of volunteer time and in-kind services that are provided to various initiatives that are either, you know, related to the foundation or other stuff.
Okay.
And most of the 501c3s that I've worked with at some point, members are asked to turn in a time sheet for the hours invested in or the miles driven or whatever for in kind. Has this club ever done that you know of?
Not that I'm aware of.
Are we, does the IRS expect that we do it? Is more my question.
That's not a question that's ever been addressed to me. I'm not aware of that. If Rich Warfield was here, I'd be able to ask him because he does handle the tax returns and so forth.
Actually, I can address that.
Oh, good. Marilyn can handle it. Marilyn.
Doug has issued a letter for in-kind contributions made to the gala in the past.
Okay.
So if you have receipts for things that you might have expended, I don't know of anyone who's ever submitted mileage per se, but I do know that gifts that were accumulated or donated to the gala by members, we've been able to acknowledge in that fashion.
Okay. Thank you, Marilyn.
Amy, did you say time too?
I think she was talking like time and things of that nature.
The IRS does not treat contributions of work as charitable contributions, so it wouldn't. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's never been addressed or came up ever that I'm aware of,
So,
so.
well, you know, IRS would not consider, like, if I, you know, spent 3 hours doing something for
Right.
501(c)(3), I don't, there's no charitable deduction associated with that.
Keith, thank you.
Oh, you're
was
very
very
welcome.
informative.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you would like to see more grant requests. Has the committee thought about from whom they would like to have more grant requests? I mean, from a marketing standpoint, it might be smart to actually go to certain people that we think might be potential members of this club
Right.
and see how we can help them. Has that come up in your meetings at all?
Not really so much because again, we see that as being part of the club as well. So that's discussions that me and Terry have to have, as well as working with the Hudson Community Foundation, because they have a lot of feelers out there in the community. So that's another benefit of working with them, is to try to see how we can partner with maybe other groups that are out there in order to provide more benefit to the community of Hudson. So that's a great question. And again, if anybody here has any ideas or any thoughts as to what you think our club should be supporting, that would be beneficial. You're all members and residents of this fine community. You know what's out there. You know, if there are things that you're passionate about, or if there are things that you're seeing in your day-to-day life that's like, hey, there's a need here, you know, or maybe something with the special services, the police, fire, EMS, you know, do we need to do more with them? You know, the food pantry, you know, are we seeing an increase in needs with the food pantry? You know, things of that nature. If you're seeing opportunities, or if you're seeing needs out there, please let us know so we can explore those opportunities and see how we can help. You're our best resource.
Sounds like a task for the strategic planning committee
Mhm.
to at least help you in that endeavor.
Right. And I'm more than happy to help out in any way that I can.
And thank you for all your support. Thank the foundation for the reconstruction of the cabin, because
You're welcome.
It really set the mark. You know,
It's something we're proud of. It's a historic icon of our community. It's great to see how beautiful. If you haven't been there, go check it out. It is so
Well,
beautiful.
we're all gonna be there for Santa on the Green,
That's
right?
true. That's
And,
true.
I just
I'll be
wanna-
serving hot chocolate again.
I want to echo that too, because I honestly think that the cabin is it's the most amazing project this club has accomplished since it probably built that
Mhm.
cabin.
Yeah.
So it is something we all should be very proud of. And but I also, Jay, as a former financial advisor, we have to remind people to include the foundation in their estate plans too, right? It kind of is. I mean,
Yeah.
I think everyone should give some thought to that, because
We should.
you know,
And one
God
other,
forbid we all pass away someday. We want people to think of us kindly and our legacy of generosity to the club and for the community. So
definitely.
just-
And one other thing I like to throw out there too, since we're talking about which should we support? I mean, obviously the Boy Scout Camel was a huge initiative that took several years for us to do, and is something that is highly visible and recognizable within the community. What is our next big project? What is the next big thing this club can do that will make a big impact within this community, that will highlight Rotary and what we do? You know, any ideas you have, anything that you're hearing, I'd love to hear what that is. That way we can maybe take a look at how we can support that.
There's been a lot of talk around town about the lack of a senior center.
Mm-hmm.
And, I sort of live in one, so it's, but the city council has not been helpful
Okay.
to date. And there are issues with how that the senior center has to even pay to rent a closet at City Hall
Right.
to store their stuff. And it seems to me that's something that we might want to collaborate with other clubs in town
Okay.
as a way to help begin funding some of their activities, because they serve seniors that are not currently served in other ways. And I think it might be an idea worth exploring.
Okay, I think we should have a further discussion on that, Mimi.
Another project that's not getting a lot of support from the city council is the inclusive playground. I know they're trying to get some grants with the state, but it's a pretty expensive proposition
Okay,
and people are working hard on it. Some people say, well, there are other inclusive playgrounds, but in Stowe and other areas, they just have a small portion that's inclusive and they want to make this a totally inclusive playground, which would be helpful not only for disabled, but also for us seniors that might have some trouble getting around.
seniors like to
so.
play too, right? Again, both great initiatives. I'd like to have further conversations with you as well as with Terry, because this is going to be not just a foundation thing, but a club thing. Maybe these are things that we can talk with city council about and see if there's some way we can support and help. Again, that's the whole point of Rotary.
Just one more idea. I don't know if this has come up yet, but there's a group of preschool parents in town that are trying to, I believe they're doing a redo of Safety Town.
Okay.
So, which our arch nemesis Kiwanis funded.
Oh,
years
we
ago.
gotta do something about that, right?
No, I want to get in ahead of them on. this.
I hear you.
Possibly can. So,
Okay.
they're gonna redo Safety Town, bigger and better over at, McDowell School.
Okay.
And, so I think there'll be an opportunity there. So if we haven't heard about that yet, I'd like to
Okay.
throw that one on the.
Well, I think that's great because just look at in the course of 5 minutes, we've had 3 great ideas that have come up that as a club, we can take a look at and see how we can support and maybe make happen. So I'd love to talk to all 3 of you about that as well with, again, Terry, because this is not a foundation issue. It's an entire club issue as well. So I think we all need to sit down, discuss it and kind of put a plan together as to if this is something that we can do and move forward with. Oh, really quick. And Phil's part of our group. Can I ask everybody who's here who's on the board to stand up, please? All right. Can we get a round of applause? Thank you.
Keith, you did such a good job on that presentation. It was
Thank you.
really, really
Again,
well
very
done.
generous. Thank you.
But I think, Terry, I don't know if there's a way that we can send that out to the club anyway, you just.
Yeah.
All the members, the PDF version is probably best.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it doesn't take up as much space.
Are you talking about the presentation I did today?
Yeah.
I actually have it as a PDF version and I can get
Yeah.
that over to you, Terry. That's a technical issue. I'm sure we could probably get it put on the website if anybody wants to take a look at it. We can certainly do that. Yeah, I would love to have it out there on the website so that all individuals can take a look at it. Definitely. Again, we're not like some sort of like hidden echo, chamber or something. We are open for everybody. We are your foundation. That's the important thing. We are your foundation. We're this club's foundation. Our meetings are public. If you ever want to come and attend, check out what's going on. I highly encourage that you do that. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Okay, one thing I'd like to end up with then, first of all, thank you for your attention, for your time, and your generous support of my presentation. I do appreciate that. I'd like to give the, do we have time, Marilyn, for you to come up and talk about the gala? Pardon me? Are we doing something for Gail? Oh, I'm sorry. Just smack me around. I'm silly today. Okay, so I know Marilyn had some information. She was at our board meeting last week. There's some important information regarding the gala that she'd like to impart, but come on up. Gail. I apologize. I did not know you were being inducted today. Yeah. No, come up here. Get over here. Come on. Come on up. Okay. There you go. leave the stage now. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gail Calb. I'm one of your newer members, although I've been around for a little bit with Ralph. I got introduced to Rotary through Ralph, bringing him here. Great club to be a part of. So a little bit about me. I'm 57, still kind of young, still kind of feisty. But I grew up with a pretty rough childhood. I grew up in a poor area in Cincinnati. I grew up with a single mother of 8 children. I was the last girl. I got one little brother up under me. Not the nicest upbringing, but I chose to use my upbringing as a way I didn't want to live over what people thought I should do. So I used the bad experience to create a good life for myself and my family when I had children. I do believe that people can choose to be a product of their environment, or they can choose to try to break away from it, although most people are not strong enough to do that. It just depends on their fortitude. I got married at 16. I had my first daughter at 19. I had my second daughter 7 years later. I believe in the 7-year rule. I needed to break for college. I spent 20 years in the Army. While I was in the Army, I still worked in nursing homes because the core of who I am is that person that takes care of. And I have taken care of generational families over time. When I was in the military, I started out as a dental assistant, dental lab technician. I learned how to make teeth. It was fun. I got bored. So I decided to become a diesel mechanic. So I did that, and I subsequently was sick after 3 war zones later. Although mentally I was kind of fried, but I took a medical retirement and got out, went into law enforcement because that's what we do. Not necessarily the thing we should do sometimes, but that's what we do. If the core of your person is to take care of people, you have a hard time getting away from that. So that's what I do. Got out of law enforcement when I became a single parent. I got divorced. So my children were still the center of that focus. So I had to do what was best for them. So then I went into other kind of crazy work, just supporting my children, doing what I needed to do. Started a business, got into real estate. And now I've gotten into an adventure of a group of real estate investors. So we're looking for property to create housing for low income people, but we want them to be in safe housing. So that housing will consist of single family homes, duplexes. Right now, we're still trying to purchase an apartment building with 8 units will be our minimum, is what we're looking for. And that's to provide them and family members and veterans we have a lot of veterans that are full families that are homeless. And that sticks in my craw. That's another arm of my family that I think our government unfortunately doesn't take enough care of. Just like I don't believe we take enough care with our elderly personnel. We just don't, and I think it is wrong, and I think it is rude. So I do things to try to help those situations. And that's the core of who I am. I love who I am. I love what I do. I love serving my community. And I believe my community is anywhere in the world. I don't just say my community is where I live. My community is my people. My people is everybody. We are all connected in some way, shape, or form, whether we like to realize that or not. Does anybody have any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you. And we are thrilled to have you as a member of our group. Did everyone get a chance to sign the red kettle sheet? Okay. Marilyn, you want to come up and talk about the gala then for a few minutes? We have a little time.
help us move through. Thank you. We're going to briefly run through the last gala and do a comparison to the year before. As you remember, we had a hiatus of a couple of years because of COVID. And when we came back as a very different gala. The reality was, it was smaller. The gala in 2019 had over 260 people attending and earned almost $47,000. So it is a different world, and we're hearing that from the venues, that the galas are just smaller. People have changed their take on things. So anyway, let's move to the next slide. And I'd like to thank all of the members of our club who touched this thing. We can't do this alone. We most certainly cannot. And so it requires the work and the labor of a lot of people. And of course, it also requires every member of the club to help secure the items that we have on our live and silent auctions. Next slide, please. If we look at the 2 years that were most recently done, our sponsorships were actually wonderful. It was one of the largest sponsorship years that we had in 2022, but it also was an election year. And that definitely brings out a different group of people to attend as well as to take sponsorships. So you can see that our sponsorships were down almost 5,500. Next slide, please. If we look at the gala that was in 2022, you can see that we had 2 platinum sponsors. Colleague Giving has been a traditional sponsor for about $5,000, and they are very attracted to anything that works with children. And so our things that we do with the Northeast Ohio Gift of Life, as well as the scholarships that we award and the work that we do with the schools, is very compelling to them. It's a good story. We've also developed a very good friend in Eric and Amy Treen. In 2022, they donated $5,000 towards the camp. Eric is a transplant patient. He will never attend our event, but he is a good friend to Rotary, and he was a scout in Troop 321. Our gold sponsor that year was State Senator Christina Daly Rogner, and we had 5 silver sponsors. You can see them listed there. The table sponsors, we also had 5, including some that had never given before. Callahan Carpets took a table, and so did Bill and Marie Livy out at Laurel Lake. Let's go to the next slide. In 2023, you can see that the numbers were down, especially for our silver sponsor. We picked up 2. Hudson Meadows gave for the first time in honor of our holding our meetings here. And we're very appreciative of that. They're a good partner. The other new sponsor was the Kugliak, Wilkins, Griffins, and Daughtery, and that was Amanda Conley's firm. Amanda is no longer with that firm. She has transferred her employment to Westfield, and we're hoping that she's only going to take a hiatus from our club and maybe come back when she's settled there, because she was a great member. Our table sponsors, though, we were down. We only had 2. And those were the 2 who generally show up for us, EMS. And of course, remember what we were giving this year as a major beneficiary was to the EMS. So their board came out to support us. And of course, the Scouts. The Scouts work our event. It's fun to have them there with their 50-50 raffle. And they do provide some help. It's just kind of cool to have some kids hanging around. Let's go to the next metric. The number of guests in 2022. 183. In 2023, we had dropped almost 23. That's about 10%. Live auction items were exactly the same. We had raffle auctions the same, but the silent auctions were slightly less. But the unsold items, and I think this is telling, when we had the 2019, we had a lot of unsold items, over 20. But we also had over 200 items. We had 219 that year. In 2022, we had 6 unsold items, and last year we only had 2. Next slide, please. In parentheses behind the 2023 for the guest tickets, 14,000 of that is attributed to the fact that there were tables that were purchased. And so those tickets are essentially gratis tickets, part of the table purchases and the sponsorships. I didn't really have the numbers from the 2022. We're learning how to do these demographics a little better. We had a bit of trouble registering patients. We had a bit of trouble. You could tell what business I was in. We had a bit of trouble registering our guests. And so a lot of people weren't able to bid because they weren't registered or didn't have their credit cards on file. We have an idea how to better control that this year, and I will tell you about that shortly. Our raffle, we tried to do an electronic raffle, didn't work so well. It was confusing for many of our people. We have an idea how to correct that this year. The silent auction, our microphone didn't work and our auctioneer gave up on us. There were 2 items at the very end that were very high value that went to a single bidder, and there were other people in the audience who were prepared to bid. He simply didn't see them or ignored them or tried to rush through. We've got an idea on that as well. Now, where we did do better was actually on the donations. But remember, 5,000 of the year before came from a single donor, and he contributed 7,000 the next year because Mr. Treen appreciates a functioning EMS ambulance. Okay. We also made money on something called transaction fees, and that was an idea that Evan had. We didn't automatically assign transaction fees to those people who were coming to our gala, but we gave them an option to pick up the transaction fees and therefore make their donation complete with us. And as you can see, people did. We do know what sells. Of our silent auction items in 2022, 17 of our items sold at or above the fair market value. And most of those things were booze. Okay, our liquor packages go well. The other thing that goes well are our cigars, the fly fishing. We have Gervaises for a basket from them that went very well. And so it's just a serious vineyard and a Costco gift card for $200 went actually for $225. In 2023, we had 9 items that actually were at or above the bid. Again, it was a 1979 vintage whiskey that actually sold for above that. And a Petiti's gift card. The John Hardy bracelet, a really lovely bracelet, went for the list price. And the fireworks always sell very, very well. Let's go to the next slide. So here's our bottom line. Total receipts were 67,000. Okay. And our expenses in 2023 actually were higher, and we had less money coming in the door. Our GiveSmart expenses are 3,300. Our banquet expenses were higher, and it was because we had a tent for the most part, but the meal costs were higher this year as well. And that's simply a sign of inflation. We spent a little more on advertising, and we spent more on printing. In the past, I've done a lot of printing on a home printer, and it looks like a home printer. And we elected to do a little more in regard to outreach. Every person who attended the 2022 gala got a direct invitation to return, mailed to their home in March. Also in 2023, we did a thank you to every person who attended in 2023, and included with that the charitable contribution component of what was spent that night. That's the first time we've done that. And it is a function of GiveSmart, and we now know where it's at. Okay, so we're learning as we're going along. We have an idea for controlling registration. What we know is that Rotarians on that night are wanting to socialize with the people that they've invited or the people that are their table mates, and it's difficult to get people to work. And so we have created a relationship with Community First here in Hudson. They have an event in February, and we will do their registration for them. They use the same platform. They will do our registration for us. We also found out in meeting with them that their costs are $1,000 to use GiveSmart, not $3. The core cost of our GiveSmart subscription is $2,650 or something like that. And then we also had an additional amount for remote support the night of the event. And we're hoping that we can not need the remote support. The $1,000 that the Hudson Community First is spending is for the software alone. Absolutely. There is no manager assigned to their account. They are on their own. You have to use the software to your best availability or utilize their online or their chat features to figure things out. To tell you the truth, I didn't use the project manager assigned to us very much at all because the chat feature was actually quite good. And so I was able to manipulate my way around fairly well. The night of the event is really where the issue comes down to. We have already paid for the next gala through GiveSmart at the $2,600 level. And they have told us that it was a twofer. We get that one and then we get the next gala for free. So we're committed to GiveSmart, but there are other platforms that are out there. Jim Lang uses one with his church that costs approximately $900 a month, a year, an event. And I also am aware that Apollos Fire uses something called Giving Smart that is totally free. It's meant for churches, and where they're making their money is on transaction fees with credit cards. So this is what we know. And going into the next slide, please. Going into 2024, we're going to be either meeting on Friday, the 17th or Thursday, the 16th of May. So put those on your calendars. What we know from other events is that they're switching to Thursday nights because people are looking at Friday night as date night, family night, get out of town night. We're going to be back at the Hilton Garden Inn, but we're starting to explore other venues. We have an outreach with Nosh, who is a pretty premier caterer who is looking to find out what are the other venues that would be appropriate for our size. We're wanting something between 200 and 225. I'm hoping that we grow, that we don't get smaller. We're also looking at how we want to do this. Do we want to make a more casual gala where we're not dressing up as much? Or do we like to get dressed up and come out for an event like this? We're looking at the beneficiaries, Northeast Ohio Gift of Life. We have listed since the inception of this program. There are 4 Rotary clubs in our district that support this in this way, and we are one of the 4. Hudson City Schools has traditionally been our second beneficiary, and then the third one, we don't know. We don't know. So as of right now, we are open to suggestions. We'd like to reduce the number of live auction items to 4 to 5, and we're not sure we need an auctioneer. If Patrick can show up and help us get through that. He said he would help. And what we know is that when they're finished with dinner, people want to go home. So rather than sit through 9, let's sit through 4, maybe 3, but things of real value. Something that might bring in, 3,000 to 4,000 rather than, 1,900. We're tightening up our registration processes. We're going to move the issuance of name tags outside. And then as people get their name tags, they're going to come in and there'll be 2 tables on either side with 2 people with laptops and card readers to speed it up. It can become very fast if you can tap and get your card in. We're going to sell raffle tickets in blocks, and we will have fish bowls or receptacles in front of the things that are being raffled. You'll be able to buy a block. I think people go into an auction like an event like ours, kind of having an idea of how much money they want to spend. So we will sell them blocks of tickets and they can put them wherever they want. Okay, so rather than sell them for an individual group, a series, they can take it and then we'll pull a ticket at the end. We're looking at a possible change of location. We need to shake this up a little bit, make it a little more interesting. One of the ideas we're thinking about is maybe Happy Days in the park. They have a venue that will seat over 200, possibly Camp Manitowoc with a tent, maybe Fashion Museum. We're open to a number of things. We just need to know how far can we go. Akron Art Museum also is a wonderful, wonderful venue. But again, it might cost a little bit to get ourselves in there. And then, of course, we're looking at all avenues for possibly reducing our costs for the bidding platform. As it was this year, we spent almost 10% of our income just on that one item. And I think that's a little excessive. So any questions about this? Really appreciate your support. We'll be talking about this as we get closer to the spring, but we really need everybody's help in order to pull this off. We need to know who you have contacts with who could be major sponsors in the future. Does anybody know someone at Laramco? Does anybody know somebody at Fleet Response? So those are my comments and a review of the gala. We've learned a lot and we hope to do better next time. Thank you.
Can choose it's not, is it here? Oh, there it goes. Okay. Okay, Marilyn's gonna pull the ticket. We have a payout of $7 today. The jackpot is 190.
The last three digits are 389. 389. Did someone leave with it? Oh, there we go, Kelly.
Oh, 190. 190, we're getting down there too. 57. Okay, you ready? Not today, not today. All right, thank you, everybody. Get out there, get the word out about Rotary and make it a good week.